What's happening? I got a good request here. This one came out. This is when we do these fantasies, these what ifs. This was a good one. What if we traded Jerry West for Larry Bird? How might have fate been different? And if Larry Bird had to play for the Lakers with Wilt Chamberlain and Elgin Bell and West gets to play with Parrish and McHale and all that, how might it have changed out? What would have the dynamics have been? And based on what I got to see with the rawness, how would it have been? So, Jerry West was an incredible ball handling the score. How might his career have been different had he got to play in Boston? And how might it have been in that era based on styles and structures? Well, this is a trip. Bird is considered a better player than Jerry West, but their stats aren't that far dissimilar. I think though, with Bird winning more, that's one of the things, and because he sold the game more. But was he really better than Jerry West? Now, Bird, the story is in the streets because it being considered more of a black man NBA. He benefited from that era, and he was a bad white boy. Let's not get it twisted, because this is actual and factual. Back on the East Coast, once upon a time in the early '80s, you could go to a black barbershop, you'd see Dr. King calendar, Malcolm X calendar, and Larry Bird was on the wall. Larry Bird was considered like that dude. Larry Bird was that dude that Bill Clinton tried to be sold as that dude. He had that kind of respect on the streets for his ball. Jerry West was bad, but he wasn't marketed quite the same. Now, this is a real interesting situation here because sometimes people are going to say, well, how do you figure? But could Jerry West have been as successful playing with that Celtic team when Casey Jones was the coach at the Bill Fitch? I don't think Jerry West would have had much success with Rick Roby and them guys. That team that won that chip against Moses Malone and the Houston Rockets, I don't know how that. I don't know if he would have Cornbread Maxwell. I don't know, but I think that if you put Jerry West with Parrish and McHale, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge, and those guys, that run that they had, I think he wins a few rings. And the real thing is this: is it the rings that really what separate the two, being 1 and 8 in the final? Does it people hold that against him being the logo? Because you got to think, being the logo and as great as he was, and the only player to ever win the MVP on a losing team in '69, you got to kind of wonder, is that the reason why he isn't given more love? Because once upon a time, he was considered a top 10 player. So how far is he really from Larry Bird? That's a big question for another time, another day. But if we were to switch them, Bird with a guy like Wilt would have been interesting. Bird with Gail Goodrich, Elgin Baylor would have been interesting how he the pressure. No 3-point line, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. Bird could shoot the outside shots, so it really wasn't that big a deal. His playmaking skills, his ball handling, the physicality, he had to have watched the footage on it. He had to have kind of like watched to see the progressions and the intricacies of it, how he would have been coached, you know, how he would have fit, the styling of it, you know, lesser teams, but then how he would have been, how he'd have been guarded. Because he still came up in a very physical era. So do I think he could have made that transition? I think he would have. Now, Jerry West with a 3-point line playing in Bird's era, and remember that he was one of the scored was one of the highest scorers ever and had a career without a 3-point line. That would have been very interesting. Would that dynamic have added to him? Now, interestingly, let's talk about elephants in the room. These two white guys who weren't exactly media sensations in terms of they were pretty dry, and they both played on two markets that are big in the NBA: royalty. So, how do you sell it? And this is the thing. Even though Jerry West was in LA, he was not an LA rah rah kind of dude. And Bird was the hick from Fritz Lick. So he wasn't a rah rah dude in Boston, which is blue collar. So how do you sell this if you was to make that flip? I think that Jerry West would have come out better playing in Boston, especially with 3-point line in that '80s. I think they would have basically been role reversed, and what happened, the way it proceeded, would have happened the other way. I think Jerry West would have been given as seen as the ultimate white player over Larry Bird had he came in age. Because I really think it's a matter of what you got to see more of. I mean, the guy was the logo. He's decorated as the GM and all be all. Now, Bird to me is a top 5 player ever. He's one of those top 5 greatest players ever. And you can make an argument wherever you want to put him. But Jerry West ain't no slouch. You can make an argument for Jerry West being a top 10 player. You can make the case. So to me, it really comes down to a visual test. If you were to flip-flop them and put them in the ears and put them with the technology in the stands, I think you get the flip of what you got. That's just my thoughts and takes based on their successes, because if Bird gets the same of playing with a high tier caliber, all-time great center in Wilt Chamberlain, and you got an Elgin Baylor, and you got that kind of talent, and Gail Goodrich, you got those kind of talents around you. And Bird was a flexible small forward. So he was like a point small forward. He could be versatility. I think that he may, would he have been 1 and 8 in the fight? It is interesting because he may have won more, but I still think Jerry West would have gotten, because of the flair, because he did have more style to his game when he shot. This was a great take from me and a great question. Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another and share it if you like, and hit that membership, because when you do questions like this, I'll bring forth back. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free, stay on. I'm out one time. Peace.